Hey everyone, my name is Francois Marseille. This is my first ever podcast. I'm calling it the Midnight Classroom. My goal is to really aim towards simplifying complicated topics. Uh, so this is my episode 0. And I actually would like to start with a story to try to explain why I want to start this. I was about 10 years old, and my family we were just leaving a restaurant, and they asked me something, and it was a word I've never heard before. So before I even start or go into this is not the trigger. This is not identity politics. This is literally just I never heard the word before, which is crazy because I was 10. But the word was my family asked me, "Are you male or female?" So English was my second language. I migrated here from Haiti, so it took a while to learn the language, and I never heard those terms before. And I literally, it's a 50-50 guess, right? And guess which one I picked. I said female. When I tell you the tears from laughter that my family had when I said that, they all were, they all got their good 5 minutes of laughing in. But what it did to me internally was it pissed me off. My thing is, if you've never taught me something directly, especially let's say if you're a family member, if you've never, or a parent, if you've never taught your child something directly, to assume that they know it is ridiculous. To this day, I'm still pissed off about that. I mean, I've forgiven them, of course, but I think things that make you angry like that you hold on to, is a glimpse into what your purpose is. And my purpose here for this podcast is to really highlight common sense isn't common to all people. So the reason I say that, let me give you an example. The answer that we want to get to is 4, but the way that anyone can interpret it or get to that conclusion is there are different ways to do it. 1 plus 3 equals 4. 2 plus 2 equals 4. If you're really a maverick, you could say 5 minus 1. That equals 4. So to have a common baseline that everyone has the same common sense, that's not true. And I found a definition that I really liked regarding this. So let's see if I can find it. Hold on, guys. I wanted this to go smoother than this, but as my first try, it'll get better as we do more episodes. There it is, yes. So people assume that everyone has the same baseline knowledge, and we don't. Common sense, or you can define it the way you process and understand things or situations, is not common to everyone. Everyone has a gift that makes them special or unique. Someone could be a protector, someone could be a servant provider type of nurturer. So, I mean, on the other side of the spectrum, there could be takers who have no limits of how much they take, and so you have to learn boundaries. There are a lot of things that people think that are common, and they're really not. So this is the reason for me starting this podcast. This is why I really want to interview people to really just have a conversation. And the reason I called it Midnight Classroom is, well, this is ginger ale. This is my first one, so I'm not going to start drinking alcohol or anything. But I want it to be real. Like if it's a complicated topic, I really want to talk to people about that. And so everyone listening can actually see that, okay, we do have shared experiences. We're all actually very quite similar to each other. It's just we have different points of view that can make someone else listening to that point of view really make a decision that they're going through, or a hard choice that they're going through, easier, because it gives them context in a way that they can understand it, which is super important. Just understanding information the way you understand it is why I think it's good to have a lot of different podcasts, because the person that you're ingesting it from probably has a point of view or a way of saying it that it just resonates with you. So that's the purpose of this. Actually, if you guys will permit me, every interview that I do, I kind of want to start with the same 7 questions. And then the 7th question really leads into the conversation that I'll have. So, point of fact, I actually wanted this to be, or I still want this to be, an interview show, but the guests that I wanted to interview, schedules get, complicated. And I didn't actually want to wait any longer. I've been putting this off for too long. And I think I just want to jump in. I feel like I don't have a parachute right now, but I wanted to jump in, get used to doing this on a regular schedule. I want to drop at least one a week. And then as I get more established, multiple episodes a week. But for now, one a week is my commitment to you guys. So this episode, now that you kind of know the ground rules for what the show is going to be about, I actually want to, I guess, interview myself. We can do that. So I'll start with the 7 questions. Maybe it'll help you guys get a little taste of my personality. Uh, and I kind of want to do this at the beginning of the shows so that when I do this, people listening maybe not anticipate the answers, but okay, because they said this, I think this is how they're going to lean. And, you get to see if you're right. It's a superpower to be able to interpret people. And maybe by doing this and listening to this podcast and asking these questions, you'll get a better baseline knowledge of how to do that. That's always helpful. Any type of new skill you could learn, especially on the soft skills side. I'll put in a infographic on what a soft skill is. That's very important. Hard skills is what you do. Soft skills is how you talk to people. So your hard skills are your job. Soft skills is, the things that get you promoted and get you interviews and get you hired. So we'll start with the first question that I would ask. What loss or setback taught you your greatest lesson? I want to keep this transparent. So if you're not into people's feelings, this is not for you. But I will to be transparent on this. My second major heartbreak, which was about a year and a half ago. Long story short, met this girl, fell in love. I think I deleted all my notes. I'm trying to shake my phone to okay. Yeah, met a girl, fell in love, and going through it, I thought she was the one for me. And, she hit me with I was too good for her. The good thing about that is the first time I got my heart broken, I was really closed in and I didn't want to let anyone in because it hurt so much. The second time I got my heart broken, same pain. However, because I was older, I actually saw the difference of how this woman helped me open up, and I really missed that version of myself. I feel like I turned into a hermit emotionally and trust-wise, and I never came back out. And then this person got me out of my shell, and I saw how open and transparent I was, and I really, really missed that part of myself. And I didn't know that I missed that part of myself until I was introduced to him again. But it didn't work out, which was fine. But what I did take away from it is that emotional pain and turmoil and heartbreak. The first time around, I wasn't emotionally available, or I was damaged. Let's keep it 100. I was super damaged, super trauma, all of that good stuff. We'll definitely, as episodes go along, we'll get more into that. But I didn't have the emotional tools, psychological tools to be able to process all that hurt. So I retreated into myself. This time around, I actually was able to process it, and I'm able to trust myself that even though when you open yourself up to love, it's a risk. Some people are better at mitigating that risk. Some people are better at handling that risk, but it's a risk. And I know, even though this hurt, I actually went through it, like the 5 stages of grief. I'll put another infographic on that as well. Going through it, and then what that made me do, because I'm a Enneagram 6, so we love our lists. I dove deep into the rabbit hole of YouTube relationship type gurus and how to get over heartbreak, and I really learned a lot about myself, learned about how to heal. So that was actually a cool process. So even moving forward, even though it's scary to open yourself up again, I know that I'd be willing to do that because I've learned I'm emotionally strong enough to handle that if it goes that way. But I actually would rather, this is a very important lesson or pro tip. I actually, moving forward, would rather hope for the best in a situation. I mean, I'm better able to recognize red flags, which would be a great episode as well, because red flags, even if you know what they are, until you have a relationship with them, until you've gone through them, you don't know how detrimental they are, and you don't know how seriously you should take them. Some of you, of course, may listen to this may say, "Oh, I learned from other people's mistakes before I make them my own." I'm not that person. I apparently was built and made to learn things the hard way. Uh, so I have to go through it. But once you have a relationship with something, uh, you know how dangerous it could be. It's almost like if, as a child, your parents said, "Don't play with this electrical socket." This was not me, by the way, but you can follow. You follow me. Don't play with the electrical socket, and you stick something metal in there, and you get a really quick shock. You learn you have a relationship with metal and electricity, and you would not be doing that again. So that, I think, when people try to belittle people, like, you didn't see that red flag, you didn't know. Yes, of course you saw it, but you don't have a relationship with it yet. It didn't bite you, it didn't burn you, it didn't shock you yet. Once it does, then you have a relationship with it, and then you can choose to not go back. I mean, there are people who are gluttons for punishment and go back, but that's a whole different subject. But taught me the greatest lesson, I guess, to button up that first question is, I learned I'm strong enough to handle heartbreak. I learned that I don't want to be closed off, so I want to remain an open person, a servant leader, but an open person, like my heart and emotions and all of that. I want to be open. I've learned a lot about relationships. That's probably another episode, but just when someone does this, this is probably a good remedy for that, or a good way to react to that. A lot of it from a guy's point of view actually is to have no reaction at all, which was actually interesting. But stay quiet and have no reaction. Don't get me wrong. That is not a substitute for if something's wrong in a relationship or a friendship, that you don't open up and share how you feel and see how they respond. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, if you're in a long-term relationship and you know that person has nervous energy, whatever it is, say something crazy or emotional, or they did not choose the right words. I'll be super politically correct with that. They didn't choose the right words in that moment. You have the opportunity to either protect your ego, which isn't, good thing or bad thing. Protect your ego and lash out, or just be quiet. A lot of times, you being quiet, if that person is a good person. I had a friend, Carrie, who used to describe it as she used to say, yeah, they're a good egg. But if they're a good person or a good egg, they will come back and apologize. I mean, it's not something that you want to do all the time. I mean, whatever your limits are, know yourself. Self-awareness, like Gary V, is sexy. So know yourself to see how much of that you can handle. But yeah, sometimes you give people grace, especially if you love them. So yeah, so that's what taught me the greatest lesson recently. Second question out of 7: what's something random you think people should try? Okay, don't judge me on this. If you do, that's fine. I have a healthy self-esteem, so it's fine. But take a shower with sunglasses on. The darker, the better. I think that experience, especially if you've had a drink or two, even if you haven't, it's fine. You have some music playing, and even if you don't, it's fine. But to take a shower with sunglasses on, you have to try it at least once. I actually think the vibe that you create by doing that is, I didn't want to use this word, but sexy? Like, in a, I'm in a masculine frame, and that's definitely a classroom lesson. We're gonna have masculine versus feminine and what that actually means. But yeah, it's cool. It's mysterious. Taking a shower, like it's just a vibe. It's a vibe. Try it once. Just try it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a vibe. Like you sitting here feeling yourself, like with the soap. Like you lather a little bit slower. Like you do a little bit cooler. Yeah. So try that. You gotta try that once. So that's my random thing I think people should try. So third question, where do you go to find calm or peace? It's the water for me. Yeah, it's water. I live in Florida, so we're very close to the ocean. I mean, almost no matter where you're at, you're no more than a couple hours from the ocean. But where I'm at, I'm about 25 minutes from the ocean. So yeah, the water is super calming. I don't know if that's well, I'm sure that's for a lot of people. The ocean, like the waves crashing. I think like the worst days I've had, like I've gone to the beach and just literally sat out there. Uh, my esthetician, that'll be an episode two about taking care of yourself. Nazra Beauty, she's great. She taught me when I go out there to wear a hat and wear sunscreen because I used to go out there and just, well, I'm black. I don't need to wear sunscreen. Yeah, that's not true. Wear sunscreen, folks. Wear sunscreen because the way the planet is now, black might crack. Yeah, don't risk it. Wear sunscreen. So the next question, number 4 out of 7. In what ways are you still the same as your childhood self? Okay, number 5 is a vibe test, a vibe check, but I really feel some kind of way about this actually. So number 5 is, how do you put the toilet paper on the roll? Do you go overhand or do you go underhand? My answer is overhand all day. Actually, real talk. I don't understand how people go underhand, because just to tear it to pull, I feel like you pull half the roll out. If you like, I don't understand how you do that. Are you using two hands to like stop the toilet paper and then pull it out? When it goes over, when you put, I feel some kind of way about this. Let me really stop saying this with my chest. This is going to be a non-judgmental show. That question and that, shout out to the company who made the invention to where you can actually reverse it. So if you have someone in your household that likes underhand and someone that likes overhand, like without taking the roll out of the paper, the toilet paper out of the roll, you can actually just switch it to fit your preference. But yeah, I actually, yeah, when I have a guest here that does it under, I'm gonna need answers. I am going to need answers. I'm gonna have questions and I'll need answers. So please and thank you. Uh, Number 6 out of 7. What do you wish people asked you more about? That's interesting. You know what came to my mind, and I don't know how feasible this is, but I'll just say what I thought of when I read that question. If you really want to know how someone's doing, ask the follow-up question. Because the first time you ask, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm fine," is a question. No, no. How are you really doing? And like really want to know, and not want to know because you're nosy, but genuine concern. And whatever you hear, as long as it's, not something life threatening, keep it in confidence. I think that's a skill that people should strengthen. How are you really? And it's hard, especially if you work a 9 to 5. Your breaks are 15 minutes, your lunches are 30, 45 minutes. You see someone, you most likely might not like that position that you're in life at that time. But I learned from the guys that earn your leisure, you consider your 9 to 5 as your first investor. If you want to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of your life, that's fine. Like, don't let anyone judge you. It's getting harder to survive on like one salary, or making, unless you're making like 6 figures, like it's really getting hard to do that. And maybe you can, have a partner and make 6 figures combined, and that's a great survival method. But I'm getting off on a tangent. But to go back on that, so yes, what I was saying, like when you work at a job, it's really hard to question people. you don't have the time. Like, do you use that to like just decompress, or do you use that to ask someone how's it going, and then or on the weekend, maybe with your friends. But that would be it. I think I wish people asked a follow up question. And if you're not that person, if you don't want to know, that's cool too. Like as long as you know who you are, that's the aim of this podcast. Just know who you are. Like you're not that person who really wants to know how someone's doing. That's cool. Uh, that's cool. That's just who you are and own it. Identify yourself to people. That's who you are. And as long as you're consistent, you'll have as many friends as you want. Consistency is everything. Like even the guy that or girl who people would be considered a jerk, if they're consistently that, they'll have friends. Like a la, I don't want to say Simon Cowell because I agree with like 90% of what he said. But low hanging fruit example, Simon Cowell. I don't think he's a jerk, but people can say that he's a jerk because but that would be a good example of that. And seven. So the seventh question when I interview folks, I really want this to be what leads into the crux of the podcast. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you were younger? And have them talk about that. I know for me as a man, well, transparency. As a man, I wish I knew that in society as a man, you're valued for your ability to provide, and I guess in a relationship, protect, but really provide. People ask you, what do you do for work, just so they can gauge the level of respect they give you, and it's voice inflection, right? This is an example. So you ask someone what they do, and they say, "I'm a doctor." You go, "Oh, wow." You ask someone else what they do, and they say, "I'm a janitor." Oh, oh, okay. You see that? It's the same word, oh, but the inflection is different. So I wish there'll be more episodes that we talk about myself, but really, I probably didn't have the emotional or mental capacity to even handle it at that time. When you're dealing with like a bunch of drama, that's not something that's not something that comes easy to you. For example, my brother is a superstar, valedictorian, MVP, All Star game. He just had it all figured out. Like he's that guy. But to me, I feel like I'd love to have someone on this show that talks about that. I feel like I was literally a blank canvas. And if you didn't put it into me, I didn't know it. So that's why I love, like, my thing to do now is I love watching YouTube videos and reading books or audio books. If I read it, actually, by turning the page, I'll fall asleep. But I listen to a lot of audiobooks because if I didn't hear it or if someone didn't teach it to me directly, my common sense wasn't common. Like I literally, that information needed to be imparted into me, and then I'll remember it and I'll implement it. But if it wasn't, um, I think God gave me a lion heart, and that was it. Like I get knocked down, I might stay down for a little bit, but I always get back up. That quit, that is connected to my ego. But besides that, I had to learn everything else. So, um, but yeah, I wish someone that I trusted, which I didn't have anyone at that level to do that, but I wish I had someone that I trusted, and I wish they literally showed me if you do this, you'll make this amount of money. That simple type of breakdown, because you go out of high school like, yeah, I want to be a doctor. Then you go to pre med, in which I did for pharmacy, and I sucked at it, especially organic chemistry. I got to organic chemistry. I was like, this is not for me, and that's actually a weed out class. But I think if you're gonna have children, one of the greatest gifts you can give them is kind of see what their talents and skill levels are, and then kind of direct them somewhere. But they have to trust you. If they grow up in a chaotic environment and they don't trust you, uh, even if you have good advice, the trust isn't there for them to listen. But 10 years into a job is like when you really start to become an expert. I'm not talking about the people who were born into like a good situation. I'm just talking about get it out the mud. Get it out the mud. Okay, get it out the mud, folks who don't know that phrase. That's an urban colloquialism. That means that nothing was handed to you and you had to work from the bottom all the way up, rung by rung, ladder by ladder. You did it the hard way, and that's what that means. But it takes 10 years to be great, and if you picked the right profession, which I'm definitely gonna have an episode about that, about if I was in high school again, what jobs I'll go for and why. Uh, that's coming up too. Those are one of the first 10 episodes I'd like to do. 10 years and you can support a family. It's expensive to even support yourself, let alone support a family, have kids. I mean, children. In 2000, it's 2022 when I'm recording this. It's March 26, 2022. To me, children are like having, it's like buying a Porsche. Insert whichever luxury car you want. I mean, they're that expensive and they're that luxurious to have them. And let's say a Mercedes, bougie talk, a Mercedes are phenomenal cars, but they like to be in the mechanic, and you're not getting out of there if it's if it's under warranty, you're fine. But if you get it out of warranty, so you're not getting out of there without spending like $1,000. It's like $900,000 like every time. Uh, Phenomenal cars, phenomenal craftsmanship. Uh, but because of all the moving parts and electronics, like they need regular, they need tune-ups with all the computers they got in there, and that's like what it is to have a child. So I feel like if you want them to have, I don't want to get too deep into this, the Maslow's laws of hierarchy, just having your basic needs met, and then in that way, they can be productive. Uh, you know what? They could reach their full potential because they have their basic needs met. There's not anything that's inhibiting them except for themselves or their desire. I don't have any children, but I made that was a purposeful decision in my actions and how I moved until I could secure the bag, until I could have financial stability to do that, because I know bringing children into this world is such a huge responsibility that I think people don't see it that way. Uh, like how they're going to be raised, what values are going to teach them. My mentality on that is even I know, like I have a plan, again, Enneagram 6 in my lists, but reading what people who are financially successful do, they don't, truly successful and who are really self-aware don't really care if their kids have straight A's. Like you don't want them to have F's and D's, but B, like a B, average of B, as long as you're really well-rounded and anywhere you go in the world, you can, you're comfortable. Uh, you can talk about a large swath of things. I think that's the goal. You don't want them to be a-holes. Uh, but yeah, you just want them to be able to talk to the plumber and talk to the Wall Street banker. Just really well-rounded. That's the hope. And to do that, it's hard to do that if all they know is struggle. Struggle is traumatic, by the way. Struggle is trauma, especially financial struggles. That's a trauma. There's no judgment here. I'm just saying, for me, that's not how it would move. That's not how it would move, and I definitely. But so that's what I definitely wish I had someone in my corner and that I trusted at that point in my life to really tell it to me until I understood it, and then help me to pick a path that would be beneficial to me for that purpose. And then, like a lot of people you hear, someone did Wall Street, because that job, Wall Street, is like 18, 20-hour days. I mean, that's a lot. But you do that because you want to build resources so that way you can open up a pickle farm or whatever you want to do. But that's the purpose of it. In your 20s is the best time to do that, to just grind, see how much you could take, see what your limits are, and do that. I didn't do that, but that's what I wish I knew when I was younger, and wish I had people that really broke it down like that and found a way to tell me so that I understand. Like I wasn't hard of hearing. I always was hanging out with the older people to learn, but people learn different ways. So that's what I mean by love me enough to know how I can process and interpret information and tailor that message to me. Kind of interviewed myself there, but those are the type of conversations I want to have with folks. Uh, I didn't want to wait any longer. Most of my life, I was trying to wait for the perfect moment. I literally took myself out to dinner tonight. I was like, you know what? I'm coming home and I'm just recording this episode. A lot of people say it might not be the best when you first do it, but I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm doing it as soon as I get home. So this is that. Let's see if there's anything else that I left off the list for this episode 0. I feel like I said a lot. I think we're at 36 minutes into this. I like Joe Rogan's format, but this is the first episode. It doesn't have to be that long. I kind of want to show consistency on how long the episodes are. I'm hoping for an hour ish, but so far we're at 36. We'll take it. I can give you some insight on what the next episodes are going to be. They might be solo dolo like I'm doing right now. But again, the career choice that we talked about, like what careers I would choose. Uh, then there's going to be relationship archetypes. I actually learned this from Marnie, the wing girl, and I'll shout her out when I do the episode. But you know, what what about you makes you attracted to someone else? Is it because you're smart? Uh, I mean, if you're handsome and pretty, that's always classic. Is it because you're funny? Is it because you're the bad boy? Self awareness. That's super sexy. So I think once you know what that is, you can just focus in on people who like that. But that's one episode. The importance of friends and how to choose them. That's another episode. This episode, then another episode, which I'm really looking forward to talking about, are maybe I shouldn't be giving all these out. I'll say this because I teased it and I don't want to do that. So I'll tease it and then I won't give the rest of it out. But your natural gifts are assets. So if you're a person who you just think, oh, I just really detailed, that can be a whole, if you're really detailed, I mean, you could be an accountant, you could be a person that does $1 million landscaping and an architect because you have the eye for detail like that and millimeters and quarter inches and precision. I mean, just that alone opens up your possibility to a lot of different things that could be very, very, make you very successful. So that's going to be an episode. And without giving too much away, well, there's going to be a sex episode, of course. I actually might want to have an expert on that. I can do it myself, but I might have to go and interview someone for that one. But the one that I really like, the most important decisions that you make in your lifetime, I think a lot that people don't really talk about. That episode is going to be very cool. I'm already started on that. So, anyway, the Midnight Classroom. This is the vibe that I want to create. These are the type of shows that I want to do. Please, in the comments, when that starts to get popping, uh, that starts to get traction and people, this channel grows. What I really want is for people to just give information and not like those snarky, oh, you should learn this a long time ago, like, and then give an answer. No, please, I want this to be something where your ego's out of it. If someone just says, what does 2 plus 2 equal? You just answer 4, like without having to add extra on top of that answer. Well, that's something you learn in kindergarten. The answer is 4. Full stop. So that would be my hope that a lot of YouTube pages that I follow, when people give great content, the comments are even as valuable, sometimes more valuable than what was posted. So I hope that that'll be created in this on this platform. And I want to see if I have any final thoughts about this. No, I think that's a good first episode. I got that off my back, and until I can really get guests on, I'll do this myself. I feel like the Thanos snap. Well, I guess that's jumping ahead. Like that Thanos. If you watched Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, where he puts on the gauntlet, all the people that he sent to go get those gems failed for the most part. He's like, all right, I'll do it myself. I feel like that's how I feel like. Yeah, so I still have great guests, but for now, this is officially a wrap. Thanks, everyone. I'll see each other next time. Peace.